It's AJ, who is actually supposed to be off today, but because he watched the entire game last night and was tweeting constantly about it, I figured, what the heck, I'm sure he'd be happy to do a JHS today to talk about a wild win. But before we start, Judd's Hockey Show brought to you today by our friends at Park Tavern. That's right, Park Tavern, located Louisiana Avenue South and Highway 7 in St. Louis Park, the official sports bar of Sports Dad. Great for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Great for happy hour, and also a late night happy hour, 8 to close every night, $1 off drinks, $2 off pitchers, and food specials. And if you're planning a gathering, a company gathering, something for your family, I'm talking about a big one, no better place than Park Tavern. Cheryl does a great job there. 952-929-6819. 952-929-6819. Make sure that your next big gathering is held at the Park Tavern in St. Louis Park. All right, Age, let's talk about it. 5-2 Wild win against the Sharks last night, a dominant win. It was, now the Sharks are bad, so it was not especially surprising, but the Wild, coming off a very disappointing game against the Kings at home, come back and play great. And Kirill Kaprizov, minus a tooth and with a split lip, 3 assists, including one to Matt Zuccarello. A blindside pass across the slot that was a thing of beauty. What did you make of Kirill's game after, gasp, 2 consecutive games without a point?
I mean, he bounced back in the way that this team needs him to. He looked fantastic, and he has those type of plays and passes where a lot of other people maybe attempt it, try it, and you get sick of it after 1 or 2, and you're like, look, that's just not your game. He gets the pass. He gets the freebie of the benefit of the doubt. I will let you go ahead and that call every single time. If you want to survey the ice, and then now you have nothing, like you're looking into the corner, but you realize, okay, 36 is probably in the top of the slot. I'm going to throw one to the middle, just hope and pray. More than likely, you're going to be right. I'm fine with that. And that's what led to that pass. That led to that goal. He continues, despite the injury, despite the missing tooth, despite the stitches, to play both sides of the puck too, which is something you've highlighted during the last couple of shows. Just such a complete player, such a gift for the team. And yeah, 3 points last night against a really bad hockey club. Starts off a back-to-back on a good start for them.
Yeah, as bad as the Sharks are, and then tonight, with us recording this on a Friday, they're going to play the Ducks in Anaheim, and then they're going to finish the trip on Sunday against the Blackhawks. So those are 3 bad teams. And as bad as the Sharks are, I will say the one thing that impressed me was the bounce back, because the Kings game was not good. The Wild got off to a great start. I think the Kings, coming off a back-to-back, Nashville the night before on Monday and then playing Tuesday, had 2 shots on goal in the first, and it looked like it was just going to be a game where the Kings rolled over and died, and instead Kaprizov gets hit by the puck. He comes out. The Wild was a little bit shaky before that. I think the score was tied 1-1 at that point, and then the Kings just went to town with Kaprizov out. And it was a really just sort of a lethargic, disappointing performance. They're going to happen. I think the most important question is, and this is where I soured on previous Wild teams, was how do you bounce back from that? Does this start a pattern, or is this something where you instantly come back, start a road trip, and play well? And I think that we got our answer against the Sharks. And that, again, is where this Wild team is different to me, because you did come back. You were mad. You were pissed off about how, yes, it was 1 game, but you don't want to take steps backward. That's not constructive. So I felt that was a really nice answer, and I'm hoping on a back-to-back on Friday against the Ducks, we see the same thing, which is at least play hard, at least don't make mistakes, at least have a penalty kill that doesn't look like a dumpster fire. I don't think that that's too much to ask, and we definitely got that. And the penalty kill still not perfect, but it was last night. 3 for 3 after goals on 6 of the 11 previous chances by opponents. And the power play snapped an 0 for 16 streak. So I think there were a lot of things to like last night, just as far as the bounce back from a homestand in which you won 2 of 3. But I will say this, I think so far I'm more impressed with how you play on the road than at home, because the Tampa Bay game and the Toronto game, far from perfect performances, but I liked what we saw.
Yeah, and the bounce back that you're talking about, I mean, it's a bad team on the road last night, but they faced some adversity. You score that first goal, Bogosian finds the back of the net, and then I want to say they had a disallowed goal that was taken back after a coach's challenge late in the first. Macklin Celebrini scores somewhat early in the second period,
Yep.
and then another goal that was challenged for offsides gets taken back off the board. I would say some past Wild teams maybe just said, you know what, it's just not going our way tonight. We're going to just play, this is just how it's going to go. But they battled back, and it after the Celebrini and then the disallowed 1, 2, 3, Zuccarello, Boldy, Brodin. It's a great response. Kind of shows the fight and just willing to push forward that I don't think this team in past years has really had. The leadership, the attitude is all components of that, probably led by John Hines and that big preseason mentality building work that they've put in. But yeah, last night was a great example of just how this team has been different from past years and why you should see some of these bright spots and probably are believing in it. The penalty kill is an issue still. It's a bad team last night, but the fact that they were flawless last night is a good step in the direction, because there has to be, if you're letting everybody score, like good and bad teams, then it's a total disaster. We're able to shut down a bad team. Now let's just start building blocks there to shore up that penalty kill.
Yeah, and I also liked last night that you got real performances from three lines. I thought,
Yeah,
Kaprizov, obviously the first start of the game. The second line, though, Boldy scores a couple of goals. And the third line, I mean, my God, have they found a chemistry. And it's funny because it actually started when Hartman went out and was replaced by Gaudreau. And Freddie Gaudreau now looks like the guy 2 years ago who earned that big, or not big, but that substantial contract. He's looked fantastic. He looks like he's back to being the guy that Dean Evison loved. Foligno is, hitting and doing a lot of things well. That first goal by that they scored by Bogosian was a Foligno screen. That was outstanding. And then Hartman has now come back on the wing. So, three lines last night played well. Gaudreau playing like this is such a boost because, he looked like such a lost puppy, such a lost cause last year that it's hard to find places to complain. I will say the one thing I saw that I like too is this. He scored a goal against the Kings, but the third defensive pairing of Zach Bogosian and John Merrill was on the ice for a couple of goals against, didn't play well. I didn't think defensively, and getting Chisholm back in. I'm not saying he's the greatest, but I think it again became crystal clear that if your choice is Johnny Merrill or Declan Chisholm, I would rather play Chisholm with Bogosian because I thought that pair held up last night and played pretty well. And again, for Bogosian to score goals in back-to-back games is not exactly a bad thing.
No, it's not. And Declan Chisholm, I think, just brings a little bit more. I don't know if he's more confident or just his puck handling ability. He's more confident, holding onto the puck in certain areas in the defensive zone, whereas I feel like John Merrill might rush it a little more up the ice and force that breakout pass that can result in a turnover. And then just defensively, he's a little quicker on his feet. He's better on his edges. John Merrill, I think, positioning wise can be good, but he also gets out of position, where Declan Chisholm is a younger guy. He's a little more nimble. Maybe, I don't want to say feels more hungry, because I think they both want to play and perform well, but the level is brought up a little bit just because the floor that Chisholm brings is just higher than anything John Merrill, I think, adds to that third defensive pairing. So it definitely shores it up and makes me feel a little bit better. And Marc-Andre Fleury last night, he had a couple major saves. The biggest one that I took note of was, I think it was Bogosian. There was a weird change where they were kind of retreating back to their own zone, but then Chisholm drifts off to the wall and Bogosian kind of left out hanging. Tyler Toffoli was left wide open in the slot, the highest danger area possible.
Bad play.
But a big glove save by Fleury. He flashes the leather to bail them out. So there's still going to be those chances where the goalie does need to step up, and we've seen that with Gustafsson. Fleury obviously still has it, and he's not going to play as much as Gustafsson with how Gus has been playing, but the floor has been risen when you do see Chisholm in the lineup over Merrill.
And enjoy beating up on the Sharks now. Macklin Celebrini is going to be special.
Yes.
2 goals last night. The pass that you're talking about, correct me if you disagree or you think I'm wrong. I did not see a game last season that Connor Bedard played against the Wild that came close to what we saw from Celebrini, who was in his, I think, third game because he played the opener against the Blues. He suffered a hip injury. He came back 2 games ago, and this was his third game. I don't remember seeing Connor Bedard play a game like Celebrini did last night when he was in his rookie year last season.
And I feel like they have different roles in a sense where
Sure.
like Macklin, I feel like he knows, and I think he's probably been told, like, you are the only guy really right now, because look at some of the other characters on that roster. It's like, it's a tough go. They
Sort
really
of the same though. The Blackhawks brought in Foligno and a bunch of guys that were there to sort of support him. Celebrini, I just think, as a skill set. I mean, he's 18. He was a Hobie Baker at 17, right?
Yeah,
he's ridiculous.
He is like the second goal he had. That shot was unbelievable. The release time was next to zero. The pinpoint accuracy. I mean, it was an unbelievable shot. He plays kind of with a certain swagger that an 18-year-old kid, and like you said, he's got single-digit NHL games right now.
Yeah, 3.
He should not be playing at that level, and he already is. It's going to be up to the Sharks ownership to probably put some pieces in, like Will Smith is eventually going to be a guy for them. They have prospects coming up. I think Zetterlund is one of their other guys. They just traded for Liljegren from Toronto. They're trying to build something there. He is going to be the cornerstone of anything they do. That is, I know they have liked to get Bedard last year. Yes, no doubt. Macklin Celebrini is an unbelievable consolation prize, and you just had to wait a year. That guy is going to be fantastic for the next 15 years.
Unbelievable. So I also want to talk about, there's at least one discussion, I think. Well, it sounds like John Hynes, the Wild coach, had this discussion, but it's an interesting sort of sidebar. It's not a huge thing now because the team continues to play well, but it certainly is important. But before I do that, I want to appeal to all of you grill masters like AJ, guys that love to grill, guys that love, the summertime or perhaps into the winter like Declan does. Declan Goff always using the grill. And I want to tell you about my friend at Stoked Barbecue Pellets, a company based right here in our great state. Stoked is the premium pellet that cooks anything that you throw on the grill or smoker to delicious perfection. You can find Stoked at all 22 Fratelloni's hardware and garden stores. Perfect for pellet and grills and pellet smokers, and ideal for all types of grills. Find Stoked Barbecue Pellets, 50-count fire starter buckets, 4-count fire starter bags, and of course the barbecue caddies, which are going to make your life so simple you won't believe it. Again, available at all 22 Fratelloni's hardware and garden stores. Or check them out at stokedbbq.com. Don't go with the big guys, go with Stoked, and you will be one happy grill master. Thanks again to Stoked for their sponsorship of Judd's Hockey Show. All right, let's talk about, and Mike Russo in the Athletic story off of the Sharks game had a note, or had a section on this. So John Hynes was one of the main people, it sounds like, that sold Bill Guerin on signing Jakob Trenin, who started the season on the third line and was seen as also a big PK guy. In the Friday night game that Hartman came back last week against the Lightning at the X, about halfway through that game, John Hynes moved Hartman up to the third line wing, which he's been really good at, and he moved Jakob Trenin down to the fourth line. Now, it sounds like they met before the game yesterday, Trenin and Hynes, and the message was, you've done a decent job on the PK. I will take Hynes' word for that because the PK has been a unmitigated disaster, but you've got more to offer. You've got more. I think what he probably said is, watch how Foligno plays, because it ain't like Foligno's a whirling dervish skater out there. You need to hit guys more. Like, you're physically not in. You're this massive dude who's not engaged. We signed you to be engaged. So, they had called up, I believe it's Milne. It's spelled like it's Milne, but I believe it's Milne is the kid.
Yeah, Michael Milne.
Michael Milne from Iowa. And it sounds like he was called up to basically be there to put pressure on Trenin. So Trenin got the nod last night, played on the fourth line. Now, the fourth line is sort of subjective because it's not a line that's supposed to do a ton. It's just supposed to not screw up. And that's nice. But what is your feeling here about, because I still don't know I saw Trenin hitting guys. I still don't know. And he is incredibly slow. He is very, very slow. But what is your opinion about this? Because He's a free agent. You're sort of stuck. Do you scratch him? Do you just continue to talk to him, encourage him, and hope it gets better? I mean, he's a guy who's had a career. So,
Yeah.
what's sort of your dime store psychology theory on the Jakob Trenin dilemma?
This might shock you, but I actually felt he had one of his better games of the season last night because I noticed him doing things like actual hockey related items. He was on the penalty kill at times.
That's one of his jobs. He better be.
Yeah. Finally, he was actually like generating some defensive prowess on the penalty kill. And I'm going to say this very lackadaisically, but he sprung a shorthanded opportunity the other way that was thwarted in all but, the eye because it was so slow. He, I think, found like a presence and a role last night more so than I've seen anywhere else this year. He was taking away some passing lanes and he was doing more good than bad. So it's a step. And if the pressure of bringing Michael Milne up is what's needed, frankly, I think that's a little concerning because you just got signed to I want to say a 4-year deal in the offseason.
Yeah, it's a fairly long-term deal. Yes.
It's more now than what I would probably like, but it's so weird because you don't expect a lot. So it feels weird to rag on a guy that is supposed to be a third or fourth line penalty killer, but he was because of cap restrictions, off-season free agency splash. He really hasn't added much to your roster. He hasn't added much to shutting things down. And maybe it's unfair to say that this one guy was supposed to fix your penalty kill, but also he hasn't done much to fix much of anything. So are we going to get to a point where he probably gets benched and he's up in the press box? Maybe. But I think it's weird that we have to already call this signing a failure in a sense because he just hasn't really done anything.
Well, and I guess the question too is he's been demoted so far down now to the fourth line. Like, what's the expectation there? Mm-hmm. So he played 11:39 last night. He had 13 shifts. He had 2 hits. I will say this on the PK, and PK didn't give up a goal. I saw a lot of flaws still. Like I don't like the penalty kill. I don't like how it's structured. I don't like their new structure. But a couple things I saw and Trenin was guilty is on the last PK, Bogosian. I keep thinking the late Derek Bugard. Forgive me. Anyway, I keep thinking of his name. Anyway, Zach Bogosian tried to clear the puck and he was unsuccessful. And then it went to Trenin basically, who also, and it was a board play. It's like, yeah, you got to win that, dude. Like you got to win the board battles here. You got to win that. You got to get that puck out. That type of thing, so I don't know, but again, he's a fourth line guy now. So you've demoted him so far down, but it just feels, I mean, we all sort of, I think, raised an eyebrow about the signing because of the term of the contract, if nothing else. And I at least want to see him not running around. I at least want to see him physically imposing his will on the ice. And that's my biggest thing is I don't see nearly enough of that. I mean, there are games where I think Foligno gets back on track by doing exactly that. And I don't think it's that much to ask to say, I want to see you hitting guys consistently. I want to see you winning board battles on the PK, but anyway, that's a small problem. The incredible thing, Age, is if I'm right about this, the Wild now has 20 points on the season.
Right, yeah.
The Winnipeg Jets are at 26. The Winnipeg Jets are at they won again last night. I think they won like 1-0 against the Blues. They are 13-1-0. So the Wild's 20 points would lead the Pacific Division. It would be tied for first with Carolina and New Jersey in the Metropolitan, and it would be 1 behind Florida in the Atlantic. They're 6 behind the Jets, who have been an absolute wagon so far.
Yeah, they just continue to keep winning. Another point I wanted to bring up to you really quick is on the power play. Can we discuss the zone entry? Maybe not in depth,
Sure.
but some, because
Excuse the dog. She's
It
very
was
upset.
no, you're just fine. I would be upset about the zone entry too. Last night I think it was the first period. There was a late power play where they lose the opening faceoff in the zone. They gets cleared out. That's fine. But then it took 51 seconds of retreating back, and it. I know I said at the top of the show that I'm fine with Kaprizov doing the no look center to the middle. I get it. That's fine. You're in a position to. Can we cut it out though? Him and other Wild members when we're in the neutral zone trying to just enter the offensive zone on the power play.
Yeah.
I get what they're doing because you either have the lone puck carrier who's going to look for an opening and take it. That's one
Right.
option. The secondary is somebody is speeding up the ice and you leave it for a drop pass for them in hopes
Correct.
that it catches the defense off guard and they can swing in easy and maybe generate a chance. I get
Right.
that's what the look is there. But when you do it in a sense and you're trying to be flashy, like Harlem Globetrotter-esque, let's whip around and, oh, hey, nobody's there. We just killed more time off our own power play. Simplify it. Simplify it. The zone entry has to be easy because you cannot spend half of your power play just trying to get into the zone. That was my biggest gripe from that because I've noticed that now in a couple games they're getting almost too just like a flashy. It shouldn't be flashy. It's a zone entry. A to B into C, and now you're setting up the zone. It's that easy.
The old drop pass. This is something that started, I don't know, 10 years ago or 8 years ago. The blind drop pass for the defender who's rushing the puck to create speed into the zone. Faber, I think, got it picked off last night or broken up. That also drives me nuts because one, it's been done forever now. It's not going to catch teams by surprise.
Yeah.
And second of all, it's basically, if anyone ever would learn how to aggressively pursue that, I think it could be a disaster for a team. But yeah, the Kirill backhand to Zuccarello also, for those who didn't see it, was into the slot in the low slot. So if that had got picked off, the worst that San Jose could have broken out. But it's a big difference to do it in neutral or at the blue line, where if it's picked off, it can be a major, major problem. Yeah, I'm with you. And look, I mean, this team likes to get cute at times. Now, the thing about it is Kirill, in a lot of cases, can get cute. Most of these guys can't. Zuccarello's a heck of a passer. He ain't Kirill Kaprizov. He knows that. There's times he tries to make really cute passes. It's as if he's like, well, I'm a good passer too. It's like, dude, we know, but you ain't Kirill Kaprizov. But I don't, and I won't spend much time because we talked about this last show, but I hate the compacted penalty kill. You're so passive. You're compacted into the zone. Then you got to go chase the puck because you're compacted instead of getting out and pressuring guys. I would rather be beaten aggressively than all packed in. And now the puck whizzes by. It gets tipped because you can't move guys out in front now. See, part of my comeback on the PK and as a whole defensively is you can't go and address the screen. So it used to be back in the old days, you could go and slash the guy. You could try and collapse his knee. Like you could do a lot of things that would make his life hell. And he had to pay a price. Now, I mean, watch this. And he's good at it. Jules Eriksson, who takes a lot of like shrapnel hits, but he doesn't get hit with like from in front of the goaltender. He doesn't get 1/10 of what he should have gotten back in the day. So when you compact it in, I guess my question is, what are you doing exactly? Like, how are you defending it? Because now you're giving the power play a chance to move the puck, to move, and also you're creating more tips possibly because you're not addressing those guys, because if you address them, it's interference. So that's the end of my rant there.
And what was it? Tuesday night against the LA Kings. Was it Tuesday night? It was Tuesday night.
Yeah, Tuesday.
The Kings' penalty kill has been one of the best I've seen so far this year because of your point exactly.
They're being
aggressive. They're not compacting and having like one lone. It's 2, maybe 3 of their penalty killers attacking the puck carrier, swallowing. Like they're not. By the time that you receive a pass, you have 2 guys within a stick length of you, and then it's you're either going to get lucky and flip it to the other side. But the problem is they're continuously working, and the Wild couldn't get anything going on the power play. I think they had like 3 chances against the Kings.
It was bad.
I don't remember a single big opportunity on the power play. The Kings had it locked down, and that's exactly what I want the Wild to try to mimic. Can they? I don't know, especially if a guy like Trenton, because he has to be quicker on his feet.
Correct.
But the work ethic, I think, is one thing you have to. It's you're pushing your two top zone guys towards
Correct.
the puck here at all times. Make them feel like they're drowning. That's all you have to do.
Right.
Because if you sit back, you're just letting them. It's a firing range. Go
Yes.
ahead. Yeah.
Yes. The Wild's penalty kill might as well break out a table and chairs and serve milk and cookies. Because it's just a little get together.
Yeah.
Just a little get together. And if you want to tip that puck in, that's fine too.
It's just tea time.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. All right. Thanks, Age. We're done. Be back on Tuesday at the latest with Jesse Pierce for more Judd's Hockey Show. Hopefully talking about a couple more Wild wins.